he Putin. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
We came, we saw, he died.
We both agree that Assad needs to go.
You know, fuck the EU.
All right, everybody, how you doing, guys, this afternoon? I have today, yeah, of course, I forgot to put him on the screen. There's no way I can do it on the first time. There's always something. So, at this point, I think we don't have to make big introductions anymore. We have today Larry Johnson. How are you doing, Larry?
I'm very well, Marcelo. Good to be with you again.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you in the channel, and I hope usually people enjoy a lot the videos that we have here with you. So yeah, it's been a crazy week.
Yeah. Well, little bit going on.
Some things here and there. So I actually had to write this down, because there was so much I had to ask you about in one simple question. And so basically we have not for this week, but for a couple of weeks now, we have the Gaza protests in the United States and Europe. We have the Georgia protests about the FARA law that they are trying to also pass there. They passed, and the president rule it over, and now it's going to go back. Probably is going to pass at some point. Then we had Fitzo assassination attempt that I contacted you at the day, and you told me, wait, let's wait a little bit to talk about it. And yeah, in the end, it was also a very good idea for the video, wait a little bit. So we had the video with Andrea Lucidi, with Nebojsa Malic and Nina Bizantina, and we tried to just look around how this was being propagated in each of the countries. And then we had Netanyahu and company being warrant some arrests by the ICC, and the same one that had warrant the arrest for the Putin about the child traffic accusation, whatever they were.
Right.
Then we had Ibrahim Raisi helicopter crash with also the foreign minister and other very important people in the government, which was quite interesting, because just, a couple of hours later that they were that they assumed that everybody was dead on the flight. Israel just put out an official message. They kind of pull a Bart Simpson. I didn't do it. And then today or yesterday, also Lloyd Austin come out with the same Bart Simpson line. I didn't do it. And continuing, because I want to start asking this question. Then we had the Alaska presidential term ended just today at midnight.
Monday at midnight, Ukraine time.
Exactly, Monday at midnight, Ukraine time. Then we had Blinken in Kiev, showing his good abilities in playing guitar and eating neo-Nazi pizza. Then we have Kharkiv being obliterated mostly by the Russians. Well, not the city, but, around the city. Putin visiting Beijing. And some time ago now that we had also the U.S. calling Russia on chemical attacks on Ukraine. That was by the senior diplomat in the UN. So Larry, what the hell is going on?
You're witnessing the unraveling of the rules-based international order that the United States established in the aftermath of post-World War II. And the ability of the United States to control events or to put its finger on the scale, so to speak, so that the final weight comes out in the favor of the United States is slipping. They're simply, what you're witnessing in part is just complete chaos in the U.S. foreign policy, and that events that these kind of events that are shaking the world right now, maybe 30 years ago, the United States might have been in a stronger position to influence the outcome or help direct it, but not now. That's what it's exposing the weakness of the United States, I guess, is the simplest thing. But take the assassination of Robert Fico in Slovakia. That there's naturally the assumption that this was a Western-backed assassination attempt. What we know is that the guy is a fairly prominent writer in Slovakia and was known to be an opposition political, affiliated with the opposition political forces. Was he put up to this? Was he encouraged to do it? They'll get to the bottom of that once they start going through his phone records. Who was he talking to? Because the one thing, if you're carrying a smartphone these days, just to understand the information about who you talk to, where you go, what you purchase, what you look at on the internet, that's downloaded not by intelligence agencies, but by a variety of commercial enterprises that then turn around and sell that information to the intelligence agency. So the point is, it's well known. But just in that one situation, it highlighted that countries like Slovakia and Hungary are now moving away from the U.S. control, and that was sort of, I guess, that was sort of the message that was delivered when Xi Jinping he visited France, but then he went to Hungary, and I believe Serbia, and again showing that these are independent states, independent now of the former monolith that was the EU and US alliance.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of talked about it last week, and one of my perceptions about seeing this visit from Xi Jinping, he went first to France. It kind of looked like, when you start eating a good plate of food, you always leave the best for the end, right? Mm-hmm. And then I see what I see is that I say, okay, we have to go there, so let's get it on with France, and then we go to what matters, right? Serbia and Hungary. And when I see this situation about Fico, what I see is that these countries are not going to fear, but to rejoin even more. Say, look, I need a bodyguard now. Who's the big guy around?
Yeah, the other part of it though is, I know some people have speculated that Russia was going to assassinate Zelensky, but look at the world reaction in the aftermath of the assassination attempt on Fico. What it underscores is that any kind of overt attack like this, even on someone like Zelensky, is going to probably have more negative blowback on whoever is responsible. And so I think that's one of the reasons the Russians have ruled that out. They'll prefer to work indirectly through opponents of Zelensky to, that they will move to get rid of him. And now that he's so over 18 hours ago. So it was at midnight going into Tuesday morning Ukraine time that Zelensky's term was up. As of this moment, he's not a legitimate president. He is an usurper, an authoritarian. And he will have no credibility in any kind of peace negotiations if such were to develop. And the Russians have made that very clear. So he's someone that he's trying to figure out how to survive, frankly. I don't think he'll be successful, but I could be wrong.
Well, I think I have a bet with Neboja. Who's going to do it first? Skander or the three-letter agencies? Well, perhaps five-letter agencies as well. But I bet on the agencies, so hoping for my beer.
Yeah, well, I think the most likely blow will come from within the Ukrainian military, because they're the ones suffering the casualties. They're the one bleeding, and they're going to reach a point where they recognize they got to get rid of him if they want to survive.
I don't see Russia trying to do that. I mean, you watch, and I completely agree with what the guys from the Duran they say on this. He's the best ally ever for Russia, Zelensky, alive, because he's nauseating and he's annoying the West and he's getting everything mostly what he wants. He's disarming the West. And he's losing the war, so he's stupid and incompetent. What else do you need better than that to win?
Well, when you go back and watch his speeches leading up to his election, and then his comments shortly after election, what you realize is that when the history of this is written, he will have taken an opportunity to become a really a famous president of Ukraine for having brought peace, and then instead he will be viewed as a butcher, someone more like Nero, a failed ruler in a corrupt empire, even though Ukraine's not much of an empire, but just whatever led him to do a complete 180. Or what Annalena Baerbock goes to 360, yeah. It will, that is for historians to write about, but clearly he has, and go back and look, he has aged tremendously. He's put on weight. He's not this fresh-faced boy that he was, 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And now he doesn't have the mantle of legitimacy. So he's not going to be able to travel overseas and be received as some head of state. I mean, he can pretend, but he's a pretend head of state. Most countries are going to say, no. You're a dictator now. You're someone who sees power. You're not following your own constitution, your own rules.
Yeah. There was many people have argued during this period that during war times you have martial law and all that, so he kind of could. But from what I understood, watching Alexander McReese, who is a lawyer and understand better of law than me, of course, is that it's not exactly like that. The martial law does not give the right for the president to keep being president. More of the parliament, or the powers under, not under, but parallel to the president. So I'm not sure about that. But,
well, look at what happened in the United States during the American Civil War and the election in 1864. Lincoln had imposed martial law, yet the election went on. And there was some expectation then that he was going to lose, but he managed to pull it out. I think part of that was thanks to Grant's victory at the Battle of Vicksburg was helpful. But the United States has already demonstrated you can be full scale at war and have elections. Same in World War II, the election of 1944. That was in the midst of the war with Germany and with Japan, and still the election went on. So we're at war with martial law. That's just an excuse.
Yeah, that's just not to sound autocratic, or what are the other words that the U.S. government loves to use?
Authoritarian.
Authoritarians, dictatorship, bingo, whatever.
Right, right.
Yeah, exactly. But talking about this, what I see, and it was interesting that when I wrote to you and you say lots going on, I wanted to understand, and I'm not suggesting that you have any internal special special information inside the intelligence of the United States, although I understand, I believe you know here and there someone. What is the trying not to put you in a bit in a spot here, but what do you think is because what I see is it's a complete panic, and hysteria from the Western powers, and I
with respect, are we talking Ukraine?
We're talking about everything. That's the,
okay.
Because when I thought about this video today, about this conversation, was more like it looks to me that the spiral is gaining momentum. The spiral of mistakes and errors, and of course I mentioned Raisi's, and it is accepted even by Iranian media that it was an accident. It happens, but the name of the video was convenient coincidences, but this also sounds like an inconvenient coincidence. How do you see the establishment, the United States government and establishment, going forward with all this going on? Is this convenient coincidences or inconvenient coincidences, all of this?
Well, what you have is the United States does not have a strategy, doesn't have an international security strategy. It's entirely in reactive mode. So it's reacting to situations as they occur without any effort to connect the implications of this. For example, Ukraine has invaded, Russia has invaded Ukraine. And we've ignored everything that Russia told us and asked us. But now we're going to punish Russia without anybody stepping, saying, okay, but if we punish Russia and try to isolate Russia, what does that do to their potential relationship with China? And then, start thinking through second, third, fourth level. But then you get events like the death of President Raisi in Iran. What troubles me about this is, number one, why were the Iranians still using a 45-year-old Bell helicopter, U.S. made? I mean, that's absurd. The minimum, they could have bought a helicopter from the Russians. But anybody that has ever operated in places like Afghanistan, similar to Iran in terms of the mountains, knows that the only helicopters that really work well there are the Russian helicopters. So, why did they buy a helicopter or two from Russia and have a presidential helicopter? Or better yet, where was the presidential airplane? Why run the risk of a slow-flying helicopter when you can get up in a jet and fly above some of the storms? Because I've heard the Iranians come out and try to make the case, this is the fault of U.S. sanctions. No. It's your fault for being stupid, candidly. You shouldn't have been using a helicopter that old, and one that comes from your enemy. Hello? If Iran doesn't now understand that the United States is its enemy, they better wake the hell up, because that's the fact. The United States is not backing off. Yeah. Which then the second point is, why do you fly all of your key people? Foreign minister is right there with the president in the same helicopter when you're really at a state of war. When you're in a state of war, you fly separate helicopters. I have heard some speculate that, this was, Mossad or the United States inserted a team with a surface-to-air missile and, shoulder launched, and they're the ones that brought it down. That's people who should be writing for a Hollywood script, like, a new Jack Reacher movie. So, think through the logistics, the planning of this. So you say, okay, hey, Marcelo, we're going to get together. We understand that President Raisi is going to Azerbaijan, so we're going to plan to shoot down his helicopter. Well, how do we know what the itinerary is? So maybe you can get somebody on the inside to give you the itinerary. How do you know what the flight plan is? Oh, then there's the issue that there are 3 helicopters, not 1. So how do we know which helicopter is carrying Raisi? It's not like it's got a big flashy neon sight saying, "Hey, President on board." Or like one of those little yellow signs in the back of a car, "Baby on board." And then, so let's say you can somehow get that information and you're going to know the precise time. So, but this means you're going to hike into the mountains, into this obscure part of northern Iran, very difficult terrain. And, weather's terrible. And then you're going to somehow be able to spot, identify the correct helicopter and shoot it down. Sorry, that is mission impossible. And we're not talking the TV series or the movies. It's just not credible. That was the weather bad? Yes. Heavy fog? Yes. Have people flown in helicopters in heavy fog and crashed before? Oh, yes. Just ask. Oh, we say, we could ask Kobe Bryant, but we can't because he's dead. Because similar circumstance.
It's true.
So it's tragic, and the death really has highlighted a couple of things. One, that there still is, even though the West insists Iran is not a democracy, they're still going to select and elect a new president. And in that regard, the Western intelligence agencies, you can bet, will be working night and day to try to, throw money to opposition groups and do everything they can to disrupt the process. It's also a reminder of the relationships that Iran has established with China and Russia, that those relationships are still important. And so the Russians and Chinese are, I think, in contact with the other Iranian counterparts to try to reassure them and to keep them on track. And then you've got, sort of the budding relationship with Saudi Arabia. The question is, will this disrupt that or not? But when the plane when the helicopter went down, you saw almost all the countries except for Israel spring into action, offering help to try to locate, to try to deal with the situation, including Turkey made a point of sending a big drone to find the helicopter. Do you need to take that or?
No. It was an alarm because this is not the usual time that I do a live stream. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay. That's all right. So, the whole Raisi thing is, it's, we'll have the election into June now, it looks like. So we'll know more then. But
yeah, it looks like they're going to have a 50-day to pull up. From what I heard yesterday, the information, like 50-day period to, organize everything. It's not, election is not something simple. If it's unplanned and unprogrammed, and you need at least some time. But 50 days still looks very, very last minute, very short time to pull up an election. But it's okay. I mean, it's at least they are going in the direction of having an election as soon as possible to keep the country on track. And at least that's my perception of how things are going in that direction. And so trying to come back a little bit to Ukraine, we had Blinken there, and who was it? Was it Alex Christoforou or Alexander Mercury that point out a very interesting thing that he pulled up, that keep on rocking on the free world, but he's left-handed.
Yeah, he's doing the Eric Clapton style. and
Yeah,
they had to
exactly.
that had to be shipped in. Yeah, no, he shipped
Exactly.
it. This was all prearranged, staged, and just the fact that they thought that was a good idea just shows you how screwed up they are.
Yeah.
Because you just don't happen to take your left-handed guitar with you overseas.
And I could understand. I mean, I play. I'm not a good player, but I play the guitar. I could understand that someone could get like Jimi Hendrix style. You know, that he just used a right-hand guitar with the left hand and pull the strings upside down. I could understand that, but that's a left-hand guitar, so it's hard to believe that was. Last minute. Oh, I'm here having a beer and let's play some guitar and keep on rocking on the free world.
Yeah.
So tell me.
No, I was just going to say it was. It's one more example of his incompetence as the Secretary of State, not understanding the proper role of a senior diplomat. This was, this is clownish, and really bad optic when you've got Ukrainian troops dying in larger quantities than they ever have, and he's playing "Keep on Walking in the Free World," which is an anti-war song. So, what message is he saying? We really don't want you to keep fighting. We want something else.
That's what he's sending somewhere, but I think he just got the title. If you use Chat GPT and you put something and then he comes back with just a sentence, keep on rocking on the free world. That was the message. Not the rest.
Exactly.
And so that is something that I cannot sleep thinking about this. Of course I can sleep, but are these people stupid? Do they pretend to be stupid?
No, they're stupid. They're stupid.
Okay, easy as that.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, it comes from once you develop sort of a set of assumptions about how the world operates or how the world looks, and then those assumptions dictate what you see. Then, for example, these people who believe that there's a flat Earth movement on YouTube, they keep arguing the Earth is flat. And, that's crazy. It's ignorant. It's stupid. It's a denial of actual evidence. You can see the photographs of this curvature of the Earth. It's not flat. But, by God, it's flat. And if you try to talk to them about it, no, it's flat. There's no reasoning. So that's what we're dealing with here. These people have decided in their mind, Russia's so weak, Russia's so disorganized, it's so chaotic, that Putin's an authoritarian thug who's staying in power simply because he's locking up and killing all of his political opponents. And, okay, once they believe that, then they can't see the reality of what Russia's doing in terms of that it's, when I looked up the numbers the other day with respect to the comparative sizes of the U.S. Army to the Russian Army, I was shocked. The Russians now outnumber the United States 3-1. 3-1. Now, the difference is the U.S. has like 452,000 soldiers. And
does it count Sarah Ashton Cirillo?
Yes. No. She's on the Ukrainian side, so we're not even counting Ukraine.
All right.
But when you look at the U.S. troop strength, that's all the 452,000 are not sit there based in Germany or in Poland waiting to go into Russia. They're throughout the United States. Some are in Europe, some are in Africa, some are in South America, some are in the Indian Ocean Pacific region, Indo-PACOM as it's called. So this 452,000 man force is really very scattered. For the Russians, 1.3 million are there at home. They're in Russia. They're not out on these expeditionary missions. So right off the bat, Russia is at an enormous numerical advantage. And yet here's General Cavoli, the U.S. commander for European Command, in command of all U.S. forces in Europe, talking the other day about how weak Russia is, how undermanned it is, how understrength it is. I was like saying, okay, dude, if that's the situation Russia's in, then you are really fucked, because you're not even measuring up to a third of what Russia has. So why do you say that? Why are you going on about Russia's weakness? Look in the mirror. Look, do some inward examination first to understand how screwed up you are, how incapable of operating. I heard, and I really have a lot of respect for Alexander Mercouris, but I think he made a mistake the other day when he was talking about the United States is the #1 military in the world because of its superior naval forces and its superior air forces. And I wrote back to him and said, "Nah, I think you're making a mistake here. The United States military is designed to be an expeditionary military. That means it's designed that if there's a crisis anywhere in the world, we can load our forces up and go there." Well, that was great back in the day when, there were not, when the Russian subs didn't proliferate throughout the Atlantic and the Pacific, when there were no hypersonic missiles. The notion that a carrier task force, once feared, could be very powerful, could create mayhem. Now we watch it in the Red Sea. They can't stop the Houthis. I mean, the Houthis are not the German Wehrmacht by any stretch of the imagination. This is really the ultimate David versus Goliath fight, where little David is Yemen. And boy, they keep throwing rocks, only drones in this case. They just shot down another predator. They've shot down 5 predators. Those are, those are at least $30 million drones. So, hey, man, $150 million down the drain, boom, just like that. So here's the United States and all of our Air Force. Boy, we got the F-35 jet, except it's only 29% of them are operation capable. They're capable of operating in combat right now. And if they do go up and operate in combat, for every hour they're flying, they're going to need multiple hours of maintenance. And there's a real problem with the maintenance. I mean, so it goes on and on and on. So on paper, yeah, U.S. has got a lot of ships. But those ships, if they get in reach of, say, Iranian, the Strait of Hormuz, and there's a war with Iran, the odds are very, very high that a hypersonic missile will take out those U.S. ships. Similarly, if the United States tried to intervene with China militarily. So what we've witnessed is the United States has invested all this money in this naval force that's now really no longer relevant. It can't do what it was designed and built to do 40 years ago, because now the development of weapons systems that can defeat them have surpassed anything the United States can put out there to sea. Air defense systems on those ships, completely inadequate. They can be easily overwhelmed. All you need is, they carry the cruisers and destroyers that accompany the carrier in a task force. They've got a set number of air defense missiles that are stored on board. And once they shoot them, they're empty. They gotta go back to a port to get reloaded because they're vertical launch systems and it requires a certain equipment to get them loaded. Well, what happens if you get launched with 200 attacked with 200 drones? All of a sudden, man, you've shot everything that you can, and you're now completely vulnerable. Which,
and there's still another 100 drones to come.
Yeah, if I'm a Chinese military planner, I'm looking at that and that's what we're going to do. We're going to overwhelm the Americans with drones and force, as in the Battle of Midway, and it wasn't, I think, a plan by the United States. It was one of those things that just worked out. But they had the dive bombers all failed, I guess, or torpedo bombers all failed in their initial attack. But that initial attack brought the air cover of the Japanese down to sea level. So now they were no longer able to defend against planes coming in, the dive bombers that were coming in from the top, following on. And what this drone strategy would do was you launch an incredible number of drones, you shoot off all your air defense missiles, you don't have any left. You've now essentially lowered your defenses. Now they can follow up with cruise missiles, hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, runs a course.
And
So
the other day you mentioned it was the first thing that I noticed about that video shot from the missile and drones attack from Iran into Israel. It was that this missile from Iran actually dodged, dribbled. Like we say in Brazil, give a olé on the Israeli missile. It came like this, and it continued.
Yeah. Well, and then we're not getting the correct story about reportedly Israel retaliated against Iran and bombed targets inside Iran. I don't know how they did that, because if either they didn't launch ballistic missiles, we know that. So if you don't launch ballistic missiles, that means your only other way then is to have an airplane fly and launch something that can go into the attack. The problem is the place where these attacks supposedly occurred is so far inside Iran that it would have meant that Israeli jets would have had to penetrate about 200 miles inside Iran before launching. Well, that didn't happen. So, a lot of this almost looks like it was staged theater. I'm not sure what, but they keep talking about, Israel showed they could reach out and hit Iranian targets. No, it didn't. Absolutely did not. In fact, what it showed was the real difficulty in doing that kind of mission. But the media continues to feed a number of storylines that are, sheer fantasy to readers. But one of these days, they're going to wake up and reality is going to intrude. The Ukrainian army will be a large portion of the Ukrainian army will be forced to surrender. They'll be trapped in a cauldron. And so all of a sudden you're watching 50,000 troops being rounded up and marched into Russia.
So since we went to Israel, you mentioned this thing about shooting deep inside Iran, and back in that day, I remember that there was a lot of fog of war. We launched some drones and then some missiles, but then the evidence was just a couple of quadcopters and stuff like that. Very, very lame thing, and it really sounded. Then there was some some high speculations. But then that also died down. Then you mentioned now that could an airplane have... Do you think that something could have happened, like an airplane going out there and being shot down, and people just decide, okay, let's shut up and not say anything about that? Well, that's too speculative.
Yeah. I don't think, again, that was the story that Pepe had, that the...
not even going on that direction, very strong direction. Just asking, like, could something not that strong have happened, like an F-35 have been shot down or something like that? That would be terrible for the United States. Seeing
that'd be tough. That'd be tough to cover up.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, unlikely.
Unlikely. Okay. It's okay, but since we went to Israel, another thing that's puzzling me is that, well, when they start the invasion of Gaza on the beginning, like 6 months ago, we could see a lot of videos and evidence and a war going on. Now they have decided to attack Rafah. I'm not seeing too much. What's going on there, or isn't anything going on there?
Well, they're trying to figure out what to do. I mean, that's that's the problem. They're not sure what to do. They keep talking about it, but so they've been threatened and warned by the United States. But and then start killing more civilians. I mean, this is really the last civilian concentration in Gaza. However, they had declared the northern Gaza Hamas free, and lo and behold, Hamas is back there fighting along with Palestinian Islamic Jihad and other groups. So.
All right. So just maybe to go finish about this situation in Iran. We discussed that they're probably going to have elections, but I'm not I don't have too much knowledge about Iran actually. How do you see these developments? Just assuming that everything is, it was an accident and everything. I'm not even considering otherwise. Just how do you think this is going to be developed inside, perhaps, or in the region?
Well, you've got tensions inside Iran between you've got the conservative clerics, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. You have a large number of people in their. I can't hear you.
No, I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay. There's a delay apparently on the video.
Yeah, it's
from
not
what
fantastic.
I'm saying. Okay. Sorry, okay. That was what was throwing me off. I'll stop looking at you. So
let me reload my camera, maybe. Okay, please go ahead.
But so you've got the conservative elements, and then within the younger folks, the teenagers in the early 20s, much more liberal in their views. You have some who are devoutly religious, but others are a little more secular and enticed by the Western world and what's going on there. You have some as well that advocate more liberal policies. So. Yeah, there's going to be some. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Who's going to emerge? Well, I'm predicting they're likely to go more towards someone even more conservative, more of a hardliner than Raisi, but maybe not. It's not a very simple process, but. The election of the president doesn't determine who the leader of Iran is. That leader is the Ayatollah Khamenei right now. But he's an old man, and he's going to die one of these days. And then there will be the struggle forward to figure out who will be the next Ayatollah. Mm-hmm. So there's with this kind of chaos, certain outside groups will try to exploit it. And the CIA has had long-standing ties to groups in Baluchistan, which is in southeast and far east Iran, on the border with Pakistan. I anticipate that it will become more chaotic, not less chaotic.
Yeah, I have one question here. I'm going to if you're all right, I'm going to read it otherwise, because the actual question was if you think that the United States at some point will decide not to move away from being hated by more than half of the planet. But I will ask otherwise. I will ask, do you think that the United States, there is any chance of the United States changing its mindset towards the world and actually, getting rid of these stupid people that don't understand how anything works as it look, and move into the new era of because it's important. The United States is not a country that we could just ignore. It's a very rich country. It's a strong country. It's a big country. Has a big population, and I'm going to include Europe as well here on the same question. Do you think that these oligarchs or this leadership could at some point change their mindset into something more pragmatic or even friendly to differences, or let's call it like that?
That old idiom, old dogs can't learn new tricks. I think that still applies. It's going to take a catastrophe of some sort, economic or political, or a combination of the two, or military, one of those three, to force a change in the United States. The people of the United States they don't want to listen by and large. They've already constructed their view of, as we talked about at the outset. Once you have those certain assumptions in place, once you've concluded in your mind that the world is flat, then by God, that's all you see. Everything's a flat earth. And it's not going to change until you're given the challenge. Okay, if the earth is flat, I want you to walk to the edge and fall off. Man, they'll be walking around in circles, literally. They'll never get to the edge. Never get to the edge. So I look at the attitudes in the United States towards Russia, number one, where you had this buffoon, Mike Pompeo, who, former Secretary of State and head of the CIA. And he's like, I found Jesus when I was at West Point. Good. I'm glad I didn't know Jesus was lost, but good. I'm glad you found him.
Well, he went to the university, so good.
And then he's like, so I'm this devout Christian. Really? You're a devout Christian? Then you're sitting there condemning Russia, who is a devoutly Christian nation, and in theory should be your brothers in Christ and your sisters in Christ. Instead, there's some sort of enemy and dark force trying to undermine Judeo-Christian values. Just what exactly are those Judeo-Christian values? It's okay to kill children as long as they're not our Christian children. Unless it's for abortion, then it's okay. We can kill them because they're not born yet. Yeah, I mean, what are your Judeo-Christian values? That you're going to support war wherever you can instead of finding a diplomatic solution? So, it almost makes me want to say, hey, take your Judeo-Christian values and shove it, okay? Because it's not really Judeo-Christian values. And then this, I even sort of, am repelled by the concept of Judeo-Christian values, because there is a sharp division, frankly, between the Judaism of eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and the Christian view of forgiveness and mercy. And so those are at loggerheads. You might make the case that there's a lot more in common between Islam and Judaism in terms of their very black and white view of you kill those who you define as evil, and God blesses those who are good. Whereas Christianity has more of a path open of forgiveness, that all are going to be, quote, saved. And yet the Christians haven't lived by that. That's a whole nother, you can get off into that theological discussion. But you're not going to get a change in these political views in the United States with respect to Russia or China. Or, I listened to two members of Congress on the House side, Mike Waltz, on the Senate side, Rick Scott. Yesterday described they were basically celebrating the death of Raisi in Iran. He was a murderous terrorist. Really? So let's add up Iran's body count. How many people has Iran murdered, killed, in military operations in the last 20 years? 2,000? Maybe, I'm talking about they're probably through the war in Syria, fighting against ISIS, who has been attacking Iran. And if you attribute, we'll attribute also the deaths of Hamas. Okay, good. That's the total Israelis killed from 2000 to 2024 is 1,455, and of those, out of those, that was a result of 594 attacks, and of those 594 attacks, only 105 were attributed to Hamas. So, point is, Iran doesn't have a big body count. How about the United States? How many Iraqi civilians did we kill? Minimum number, 250,000, 250,000 men, women, children. How about in Afghanistan? Again, unknown, but minimum estimates are 70,000, 80,000. So what we're talking about is the United States has got the blood of over 400,000 people on its hands. We haven't even counted Syria and Yemen and other places. We're in no position to talk to the world about who's a murderous thug. Look in the damn mirror. We're the murderous thug. Yeah, we are. And so I say that to fellow citizens. Boy, they get outraged. How dare you? Why do you hate America so much? I don't hate America. I hate what America does. I despise what America does, because this is not the country that I grew up in believing about what we were supposed to be. We were supposed to be this source of benevolence and goodwill and promoting justice and preventing bullies from running rampant over the weak. Instead, we become the bully, and we're running rampant over the weak.
Yeah. I don't think I can end this video better than that, Larry. I wanted to, since we touch on religious subjects, I'm trying to get you here so we can have a full program to talk about this, but every week something new.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have taken the time and that we could do it, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, Larry, I will thank you very much. We had just approached 1 hour of show, so I know that you also have other compromises to do during the week. And guys, remember that you can find Larry Jones on sonar21.com. The YouTube channel also, it's on the description. Larry's YouTube channel. Now he's putting more videos. Every week, twice a week, you have Larry Johnson and the roundtable, the intelligence roundtable in Judge Napolitano, which, by the way, I missed again. He was here in Milan just last week.
Yeah.
I had a live stream when I saw the start of the live stream of Judge Napolitano. Oh, he's in Milan. I could get the car and went there and talked to him, but I miss him. But all right, he always come back to Italy. He loves this place.
He does. He's a son of Italy. He's a true son.
Yeah, Napolitano, not by chance, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Larry, thank you very much again for your time, for being here. It's always a pleasure to have this conversation. I would have it every week, but I know you are full of work. So every now and then it's an extreme pleasure to have you here. And people here also love to see you.
I thank you so much, and I always enjoy it. So just the next time you want me on, let me know, Marcelo.
I'll let you know. I'll write you. See you, and till next time. Bye. Remember, everybody, that the links for helping Rio Grande do Sul are on the description. We had a big incident of flooding there. So All right. See you.